Download the AllStar app. Make your picks for UFC fights, challenge your friends, level up and win prizes. Link in description. Get it now. There's an article on Low Kick MMA. Go check them out, lowkickmma.com. Good people's over there. You know, good news, good interviews, all of that stuff. An article says a closer look at many CEOs and celebrities who train in martial arts and why, right? So there's a long list of people that train martial arts, right? It could be jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, it could be MMA, it could be judo, it could be whatever. Martial arts there's a long list of martial arts, right? So it's not like, they're just training MMA and that's what we're focused on. No, it's not about that. Some of the things that they mentioned was like a unique form of stress relief. That's number one. Discipline and focus. It helps you, have some discipline and focus.
Yeah.
Self-defense and empowerment.
Right.
So those are like three of the main reasons, right, of this. And I agree with all three of these, right?
Absolutely.
These are reasons not just because CEOs and celebrities are doing it. These are three reasons just a regular person.
Right. Yeah, it's a great vehicle for personal growth, just in general. Like anyone I've seen, like whether I consider them a good human being or not, has benefited in so many ways just by being part of a combat sport or martial arts.
Yeah, and let's say like grappling, right? In grappling, like what aspects do you think are people benefiting from? And we're not even talking about wrestling, because wrestling is a whole nother level. Like, no, there are I don't know many people that are just like, oh, I'm just wrestling as a hobbyist every day or
That's
3
true.
times a week. Right?
Yeah, you got to be a little crazy to go like Division 1, 2, 3, college, university level.
No,
wrestling.
I'm not even talking about that. I'm just even talking about as an adult.
True.
And you're training as like exercise and a hobby, and you're taking wrestling classes.
Yeah, that's true.
How many people are doing that?
Oh my God. There's people who really, really like it, but they kind of do it in the context of BJJ. So it's like, oh, I want to work on my takedowns to do this.
Well, yeah, because it's adding to their BJJ, but it's not like no one, it's very rare to find people, unless they were former athletes, where they would come in as a regular, like a regular regimen of their life to train wrestling, like pure wrestling.
Yeah. I don't think I could count even on one hand. I've run into it before, but it's very, very rare that people are just like, oh, I just really, really, really like wrestling, and they didn't do it growing up or something like that. But it was only like 2 or 3 cases over, the 16 years I've been wrestling. But martial arts in general, yeah, it makes such a big difference in your life.
It does, man. It does. And yeah, if you're out there right now and you're watching this and you wrestle as a hobby, get at Che, because you're very like-minded.
Yeah, send me a message, because you're probably as crazy as I am.
Yeah, exactly, right? So self-defense, obviously self-defense is number one. Like, even when I train, I think about self-defense, because I'm not really going to go out there and fight people, right? Because I'm not like that type. I'm not going to be there and be like, oh, man, what are you going to do, man? What are you going to do? Like I would never be in that situation, because I'm not going to be saying to somebody, what are you going to do? Like, that's just like posture. What is that called? Posturing.
Posturing?
Yeah, it's just posturing, right? It's like you're like one of those what is those birds that have the feathers on them? Peacock. You're peacocking.
Yeah,
right? You're peacocking. Like, I would never want to do that, because you look dumb as hell. You're peacocking and then you get knocked out, right? It's like you'd rather be quiet and get knocked out than you're like, okay. But you don't want to be peacocking. So self-defense is huge, right? Women are doing BJJ now for self-defense, Muay Thai for self-defense, kickboxing for self-defense. MMA and wrestling are like, those are very niche things that regular people are doing.
Right.
Like, it's very rare. Unless you have a background or something, then it's a little different. But just like somebody off the street like myself that doesn't really have a background in anything, it's just so rare to see someone training MMA. I'm just like, I'm just here to train MMA. It's just fun.
Yeah.
It's like, yo, you like waking up with pain?
True. It takes a very special kind of person.
Exactly. But it's the highest form of self-defense.
Absolutely.
Right? If you train MMA. Empowerment as well, right? Like, you get more confident.
Yeah.
Discipline. Yes, you do have discipline, because you have like your gym usually have certain set hours, right? So you have to be disciplined to be like, okay, I'm going to set out my day and I'm gonna go train at this hour and this
Right.
hour. I'm gonna train at this
Yeah,
hour.
it teaches you to stick to a schedule.
Yeah,
And like
yeah.
to be consistent with.
And focus, right? Focus and like, and also when you're training, you get to just focus on your training. You're not thinking about other things. There's no time to think about other
Right.
things. Like,
Yeah, I
you're
think
not-
it almost forces people into survival mode in some cases. And when they're in survival mode, now they're not thinking about like, oh, I wonder what's for lunch. It's like, their brain has to basically shut the fuck up and like focus on the immediate threat that they're in at the moment. And I think that's very therapeutic for some people where it's like, okay, the where, there's a separate discussion to be had about like, the only time you can get out of your head is we'll call it like a near death situation, like a perceived one. Okay, there's something you've got to address there that's slightly different. But even still, the level of mindfulness that's required, in a sparring round or in a live round where it's like, okay, one, you got to protect yourself. But then two, the better your focus, the better you're going to be at, well, improving your own position, getting towards the finish, ideal outcome that you want. And so you're still encouraged to cultivate a level of focus that is usually not required in day-to-day life. So that's very unique to martial arts, I think.
Yeah, I think it helps with like exercising your mind. You know what I mean? People think like, oh, you shut off and but it does help exercise your mind and maybe use different parts of your mind, your brain that is not being used. And also you're using different parts of your body that you do not use as a regular person.
Absolutely.
Especially somebody that's stationary, that sits at a cubicle or a desk all day or most of the day.
Yeah.
You're not moving around. Like, let me just give you an example of, if you never take yoga and you go to one yoga class, you realize that you don't use a lot of your body.
Right, yeah.
And you're just holding positions in yoga.
Right.
Right?
That's true.
But those positions that you hold, your muscles are being like stretched and tightened or whatever the hell is happening. And then the next day you wake up and you're like, what the hell is wrong with me?
Yeah, it's like those cubicle muscles haven't been firing in the same ways.
Exactly. Those cubicle martial arts. There's that should be a thing, right? But yeah, so like you do get to like express yourself and use your mind and get your mind away from certain things that may be negativity.
True.
And there, I forgot the last thing I think that people don't put in here is like the sense of community that forms around martial arts. You know, it's good and bad.
Yeah.
But it's still a community. And if you know how to navigate through that community, you could benefit really well and help others out. And there's a lot of like mutual, what's that called? When mutual relationship, what's that called?
Explain it to me what we're going for.
So like when you have a mutual beneficial relationship, it's like in science, like they call it something. I forgot, man.
Symbiosis or something like that.
Symbiosis, maybe that's it, right?
Yeah,
but I'm too lazy to look it up.
Yeah, symbiotic relationships.
Symbiotic relationship.
That's what it was.
That's
yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Symbiotic relationship. Like that can form in martial arts communities, right?
For sure.
Jiu-jitsu is probably number one, is probably the biggest
people
martial arts
exchanging
community.
knowledge.
Exactly.
Right. And like in its most, I don't even want to call it innocent. It's probably like a really mature like way of looking at it was, I remember I watched a video of Marcelo Garcia explaining like how it feels that, all these people come to his gym because they want to learn his stuff. And it's like the way he said it was so simple too. He said, look, it's like I've got this really cool toy, right? And people want to come play with my toy. And I'm so excited to share my toy with other people is how he explained like his skill. And I was like, that's a really simple, but it gets the point across so well. Yeah. I thought it was brilliant.
Yeah, and also like you can be fact checked instantly when you're sharing knowledge.
Yeah,
because you're on the mat.
Yeah.
Like, okay, if that works, show us that it works.
Right, and I think that in some cases separates martial arts from combat sports a little bit, where combat sports you really get to stress test it, which is like at the end of the day part of development on some level, where you want to know if under pressure, under high stress, being super tired, can I still do this thing? And can it still work on my opponent? Whereas, if you're in a more traditional martial art where there's still benefits to that too, but if you don't get that same level of stress testing, you won't really know for sure what works and what doesn't. And so I think I do like that in combat sports, especially for how accessible like jiu-jitsu is for most people, that you get to stress test it right then and there.
Jiu-jitsu is like the soccer of martial arts. It's like you don't need much to do
Right.
it.
Yeah, it's like open mat is basically like pick up basketball or pick up soccer.
Yeah,
Yeah, think about it. Like,
but all you need is a mat. You
Yeah.
could just do it on like grass if you
Yeah.
didn't really, if you were really from that situation where you didn't have nothing,
Right.
and you really wanted to learn, like if you just found one other person that's willing to learn
Right.
it's the same way you are,
Yeah.
like you could do it without much, right? Like that's, you know, when they talk about Brazil and like the soccer players in Brazil, like they were playing soccer with no shoes on and just a ball on the beach.
Right.
That's all they needed is a wide space and a ball, and that's
Yeah.
it. They didn't even need shoes or nothing because the weather's good. You could just wear shorts, right?
Right,
And
right.
imagine like the skill development in that. You know, it's just, I think martial artists and like especially in these communities, a lot of people are like, they're like scientists, because that's what scientists do. They just experiment. A
Right.
lot of them, right?
Yeah,
And
you
try
get to
prove
play
things.
around with it.
Theories.
Yeah.
A lot of theories going around on the jiu-jitsu mats, right?
Yeah,
And
there-
it's not just jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai and kickboxing. It's all the martial arts
Yeah, there's a
communities,
ton of trial and error.
Oh,
where it's
for
like,
sure.
okay, I'm gonna try this. Does it work? Okay, if it didn't work, why didn't it work? You know, and then you really get to play that game with yourself. And some people really enjoy that.
Now the list that they have, right? Celebrities and CEOs. So the
Yep.
first one is Chatri Sichotong, which he is the chairman and CEO of One Championship, and also I believe he owns Evolve MMA,
Yep.
the gyms. Then there's Mark Zuckerberg. We probably don't have to tell you who that is. Tom Hardy,
Yep.
you know, famous actor. A
Yeah.
lot of villain roles, you know, a lot of you know,
Yeah, he's had some cool like
yeah.
iconic roles.
and has actually competed,
yeah.
right, publicly. You know,
Yeah, I
there's
saw
lot
him
of
on a
video.
podium, I think.
Exactly, right? Jiu-jitsu. Joe Rogan, he's probably the most famous,
Yeah,
right? Biggest podcast.
Yeah.
Jason Statham.
Statham? Yeah.
Statham.
Yeah, all these action
Tough
movies and stuff.
Tough
Yeah.
guy, badass guy.
Yeah.
Mario Lopez. Remember
Yep.
Mario Lopez from Saved by the Bell?
Yeah, he wrestled in high school, I
And
think.
boxing as well, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
There was a charity event where he boxed Oscar De La Hoya.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yes,
Good for
there
him.
is. And Ashton Kutcher,
Yep.
who's like, he learned under Jean-Jacques Machado. I think he's like purple belt now or something like that.
Yeah, I think him and
Donnie Yen,
oh
pretty
yeah,
famous action
Ip Man.
star.
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
Donnie Yen. Russell Brand, he's also obsessed with jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, he's either purple or brown belt
Yeah.
at the moment. Yeah.
And I remember him going on Rogan and talking about that. Elon Musk, I guess he's training a little bit, but I don't know if he trains that
Yeah,
much, dude.
yeah, he's out of all the people that you've listed, I think he's the least involved.
Yeah,
in,
he's least
in combat
and
sports.
Anthony Bourdain was the one that was when he was
Oh, that's
alive.
right. Yeah, yeah,
He
yeah.
started jiu-jitsu late in his life and won a bunch of competitions as well.
Right, I think he was with the Machado brothers too, right? Or it was
So
one of
if
them.
you were gonna pick from this list of people to kind of like be part of your team,
oh,
you know, like
Right.
who would you choose?
let's see, I guess. So like, what are we? What's the accomplishment we're looking for with this team? It's
Like,
like
it's a
just
fight.
to train with them and stuff like that.
Yeah, just to train with them and like
Oh, okay.
you know, like where would you rank them? I guess.
Okay. Zuckerberg's an interesting one because you can tell he like really loves it, right?
Yeah.
He's kind of developed this massive curiosity to it. I wouldn't go as far as obsessed, but he definitely trains like or it seems like he puts in the work very consistently, and he seems to have a good attitude about it. So I'd say I'd want him as like a training partner, if nothing else. I think that would be really cool. See how he thinks about things. He probably thinks a little bit differently too, to get to where he did. Jason Statham would be hilarious, in like a really cool and fun way.
You'd put like Jason and Tom Hardy in kind of like the same,
Yeah.
right? Because they're actors, action stuff.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
you could kind of tell that they would fight people. I don't know. They just kind of give out that vibe. Like,
Yeah.
If they were in a situation, they'd probably fight.
Yeah, like, right? Like Mark Zuckerberg would, from my understanding, he'd approach it like a scholar.
Yeah.
Jason Statham would be like, all right, you
Yeah,
know,
if you want to fight, there's
street
fight.
rules.
I can see Joe Rogan doing the same thing. I can see Joe Rogan, if you push him too far, like he would fight you. Like he
Yeah.
would fuck you up.
Right.
And he's on all the steroids too. So it's like, doesn't matter how old he is.
Right. And
He
you
is-
do want like I think what makes like a really good gym is the diversity of personalities. And so that's kind of the criteria where I'm picking and choosing, where it's like I want as many different personality types as possible. And then I want as many, like you kind of want that even for fighting styles, right? Where it's like, let's say someone comes from if we're just talking about an MMA gym, right? You want people who come from predominantly striking backgrounds. You want some people from wrestling and grappling. That way they can kind of like, they can basically have the combat sports equivalent of a think tank, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like they're sharing the stuff that has worked really well for them and it's tried and true for them. And so now we can skip all that trial and error and be like, oh, here's what worked for this guy. Is it going to work for me? Chances are yes, based on how much has been tested, but also it's up to the individual. I get that.
Imagine if you were doing privates, right? Let's say at the gym, like you have celebrities coming in and training, right? So imagine like you have a private, and since you are a wrestling coach and grappler, like imagine having like Zuckerberg, who's really invested in jiu-jitsu, Ashton Kutcher as well, Russell Brand, Tom Hardy, right? These are all guys invested in grappling jiu-jitsu, right? Imagine
Right.
having all those personalities in one class and you're teaching them.
That'd be pretty damn
How
cool.
badass would that be?
That'd be awesome.
Why is he calling me? No, he didn't.
Yeah, that'd be a really cool like situation. And I think even at Bang Tao we get this to an extent where we get the entrepreneurs, we get the people that have been established somewhat. We get the hobbyists, and everything in between. People who are just, if for their day, it's just 2 hours where they don't have to, we'll say 1.5 hours that they don't have to think about anything else. They don't have to worry about anything else. It's just you and your training partners and, somebody keeping time basically. And like, I think that's what makes it so special. I think the benefits of combat sports are so wide that people enter combat sports or martial arts for very, very different reasons. But because the benefits are so wide, they get the benefits that they, in some cases, don't even realize that they need. And so now all these unique, different people have shown up in the same room. But the overarching goal is actually very similar. And it's just, I want to get better today at something. And so I think it makes a really, really healthy environment for self-growth, because there's not that many people out there, on a day-to-day basis where it's, you walk on the street, you see someone who's like, hey, what do you want to do today? It's like, I don't know, I just want to work and go home and just chill out, and, for the combat sports people, it's like, yeah, I want to work on this or I want to get better at something today. And that shift in mentality, I think, makes life much more interesting and much more meaningful, And so combat sports does that a lot.
Diversity in life is always good.
Yeah.
It's not like you wake up, you drink your coffee, and there's routines are great, but like diversity, I mean diversity as in like, what does your day look like? Is it your day you wake up, you go to the office all day, go home, and that's it? You have your routine and everything, but is that it? That means you have no diversity in your life. All you have is home and work.
Yeah.
Which people get caught up in, and some people, they can't get out of that, but
right,
because they got responsibilities or whatever. But the diversity in life allows you to expand and network and receive like different opinions on topics, and even allows you to kind of become better at filtering people in your life, because you've experienced more in your life, right? Because the work community and martial arts community completely different, right? Because in the work community, there's all kinds of rascals and goblins and ghouls and all that, right?
Absolutely.
So, anyways, let's talk about, before we end this video, the kumite. Let's say you have a kumite, 3-day kumite.
Ooh.
Chatri Sichotong. Mark Zuckerberg, Tom Hardy, Joe Rogan, Mario Lopez, Russell Brand, they're Jason Statham. All those guys are on the Kumite. They're in the Kumite. They're in an undisclosed location. They're fighting under Ashton Kutcher's there as well.
Nice.
Donnie Yen.
Oh.
Who wins the Kumite out of those people, the celebs and CEOs?
All right.
CEOs.
So I want a finals match between Donnie and Jason. I think I've seen too many of Jason's movies to to bet against him. It's just like I think it was mostly I wouldn't not as far as childhood, but I think teenage years too was when I really started watching a bunch of them with my friends. Because regardless of what language you speak, you can put on a Jason Statham movie and still have a good time with it. So it's like, you know, there's some scene in I think it was one of the earlier Transporters, right, where it's so ridiculous, and you won't see this situation where he goes up to the door, rings the doorbell, a couple steps back, bad guy like looks through the peephole, and then next thing you know, it's like you just see Jason Statham running like foot first into the door, and then the door just collapses on your face, and I was like, that's I don't know how realistic that is, but that's pretty badass.
It is.
Yeah, so
You know,
like,
the movies make it, you know,
Yeah,
they make
yeah.
it look sexy.
right. And so if we're going like fictional situation, that'd be the most entertaining one, I would think. Donnie and Jason facing off in the finals.
In a movie, right?
Yeah.
In a movie. But in real life, you can't pick against Joe Rogan. I'm
That's
just
true.
telling you why. The reason why is he has 20 plus years of jiu-jitsu experience,
Uh-huh.
no gi as well,
True.
right?
Yeah,
he's a black belt in both.
and 10th planet
Yeah,
black
10th belt, right?
Yeah,
black
yeah.
belt. That's already like a step ahead of a lot of people.
Right.
And then he has the long history of Taekwondo and Muay Thai. So he's he's pretty much a complete fighter, right?
Yeah.
And he's on steroids, like all the best
He's
ones.
got all the benefits
He's
going
got
for
all
him.
the benefits. Like
Yeah.
if there was like a no holds bar fight, like even Joe Rogan's like in his 50s, he would still crush dudes in their 20s just because the experience and the steroids and everything. Like, and he's a civilian. So when I say steroids, I don't say it as in a negative way, because there's a lot of people, you know, just
Right.
like me.
Yeah.
A lot of people in these gyms that are regular hobbyists that are on steroids because they want to be good, right?
Yeah.
And they're not even competing, some of them, right? And they just
Right.
want to be good. So, you know, nothing against that, as long as you're not hurting anybody. But
Right.
Joe Rogan would submit every single person, I think.
Yes,
No matter who he went against, even though you were training jiu-jitsu.
that's true. I think
Like
he's,
an Ashton Kutcher or
yeah, he's got to be the highest belt there, like highest ranking striker, grappler.
and there's just the knowledge is endless, right?
Yeah.
But if it was like a movie, yeah, of course, you know what I mean? You want Donnie Yen versus Jason Statham or like
Yeah.
Tom Hardy, right?
Yeah.
Like involved somehow.
Right. Yeah, if
Right.
we're talking pure skill, I think Joe Rogan far and away on top of that list. He probably end up winning that.
He'd fucking strangle everybody. That's what he'd just strangle everybody.
Yeah, not looking at like what's his legendary like sidekick that he ended up you know how he's got all these like taekwondo like kicks?
Oh yeah.
Get one of those
Yeah.
finishes.
Oh, imagine like him spinning and just hitting you with that down the pipe in the gut,
Yeah, just
in your solar plex right here. What is that?
yeah, solar plexus,
Yeah,
sternum, right
Yeah,
in
the sternum. Imagine getting kicked in the sternum full force by Joe Rogan.
Oh, dude, I had like a heavyweight sprawl on my back, and then like I basically like belly slammed into the ground, and I couldn't eat right for like a week. It just it affected.
Yeah,
how
you
I was-
feel like, dude, something's wrong with me. Like, you know, like you're like,
It does. I
I
was
need to
like,
go to the hospital. Like something's wrong with me.
yeah, I was like, what the hell? Even eating soup was a problem that week. I remember until it healed, and I was like, oh, thank God I can eat food again without pain.